Hi, welcome to my very first or maybe second public live stream. My name is Matthijs Klaasner and I'm a teacher in the Netherlands. And I thank you for watching my live stream, and I hope this is going to be fun. It's going to be about Adobe Animate and the connection with Illustrator. So I think we're going to have I didn't time it correctly, but maybe half an hour, 3/4 of an hour in order to create an explainer animation. If you want to follow me on the socials, these are my Twitter handle and the URLs to Behance, Facebook and LinkedIn. If you're interested, please get in touch. And without further ado, I think we need to start. And I will try to do my best and keep up as well on Behance. So let's first start with the case situation that we've got, or what I've come up with, and that's this issue. Issue I want to create, as you can hear, I'm not a native English speaker, so I've got an issue with some words, and one of the words is the word necessary. How do you spell necessary? And I came up with the idea of, well, it's 1 C and 2 S's, so it's 1 coffee and 2 sugar, if you will. So I created this little image inside of Illustrator with a character in there, with some mouse to do some lip syncing, and I've also added a couple of audio files as well, and I want to combine those in Adobe Illustrator, in Adobe Animate, of course. So let's do some screen sharing and start with the show. Let's see. Okay, there we go. If all is correct, you are now having a clear view of my Illustrator file, and I have added a couple of layers, quite a couple of layers actually. So I've got my character in here, and it's all, of course, vector art. I've got my character, the coffee mug, the table is there as well. These elements are going to be animated, so we're going to add some symbols and motion tweens in there in order to make the animation. And I've added the legenda in here. I want to do something with lip syncing, and in order to do that, I will need to add 12 different mouth expressions, the visms. And I always have trouble with what vism do I need in Adobe Animate. So I always make a screenshot and then fill every single vism in its own layer. And that's the whole lot that I want to bring into Adobe Animate. So let's save this file at first, necessary.ai, and let's jump into Adobe Animate, one of my favorite tools. Let's start with, where are we gonna broadcast this video? Well, the image in Illustrator is square, and I was thinking of making a little animation for, let's say, Instagram. So I want to make a square animation as well in Adobe Animate. So I can start with a full HD file and then alter it, or just create a new document and dial in the numbers correctly while we're starting. So let's see, create a new document, there we go. And I want to go for a square image, so let's do 1080 width and height. Frames per second is correct, 25 frames per second, all looking good. Let's say create. Oh, and it's going to be an ActionScript 3.0 file. Because it's going to be an animation and not something interactive like an HTML banner or something. It's just going to be plain a video. So this is all looking good. Let's save the file. Always a good habit to save your files directly. If the system crashes, you'll be sorry if you haven't. Behance demo. Save. Okay, all looking good, and ready to import our file in Adobe Animate. So let's go for File and Import to Stage, because I want to see my layers directly on the stage. Import to Stage. and then I will need this file. And the reason why I've chosen to save my file directly is because it's gonna add a recovery file as well. So it's pretty safe to work in this way, because you've always got your recovery file only a few steps back if the system crashes. Fingers crossed it doesn't. So while importing this file, I will get this this dialog box which asks me the plain question, what do you want to import? Well, actually I want to have all of the layers, so every single one of them needs to be imported, and they are gonna convert it into Adobe Animate layers, and that's exactly what I want. So I've got the same situation in Illustrator as in Animate. So let's import. That will give us a whole bunch of layers, but I'm gonna make it a bit tidier. But this is basically the case. So I've got my character, the elements that needs to be animated, and my mouths. And to clean up the mess a bit, I want to add all the mouths and the legenda into one symbol, which I'm going to use later on. So let's select every single layer, because it's quite a lot at the moment, and let's cut those out. And in order to work with the lip syncing feature in Animate, I will need to convert it into a graphic symbol. So if I'm gonna create let's say a new symbol, mouths, there we go. I've got the option to choose from 3 different types of symbols. Well, a button, of course, that makes sense. If you want to make something interactive, it's clickable, then you convert it into a button. A movie clip is very cool as well, but doesn't include the lip syncing feature. The graphic does, and that's pretty cool. You'll be amazed later on. At least I was when this feature came out. Let's hit OK. And then paste all the layers again. Paste layers. There we go. There's one extra, the original layer from this symbol. Don't need that. And probably they will be somewhere on the stage. There we go. These are all my mouths. Let's leave them there for now. We'll get back to that later on. Nice cliffhanger in this live stream. So this is the situation, and of course when I'm creating something like this, I will need to add in some audio in order to time it, and I've created a little voiceover which I want to import, which I'm not actually aware of if you can hear it in the live stream, but please let me know in the chat if you can hear it or not. Won't be able to do anything about it at the moment, so you have to believe me if the audio is there or not if you can't hear it. Let's import what the heck, let's import the others as well, the sound effects. But how actually is my voiceover? I want to import it actually to my library, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to do it again. This one, and import it into the library, and that way it will be here, over here. And I want to first of all play around with this one. I'd like to keep my layers well organized, well structured, so I need to make a new layer over here for my voiceover. There we go. I'm not allowed to use a space in here, but it will be corrected with a underscore. That's perfect. And now let's drag how onto the stage. I don't know how long takes, how long the file is, but let's say it's a few seconds. Let's say 6 seconds. So I want to have some space in order to create my animation. I'm thinking of 6 seconds. So if I expand every single layer until 6 seconds, I will have enough time to at least start the animation. And I'm going to do that with adding a frame. There we go. I think it's pretty pretty nice. So let's see if you can hear it or not. Please let me know in the chat. Let's hit play. And that's the audio. How do you spell necessary? Well, it's easy. 1 coffee, 2 sugars. That's the idea. So this is the moment, actually this part of the audio, that's the moment where I want to start off with animating the cup of coffee. Actually, when you don't hear the audio while scrubbing through, like this, while you're working on your animation, you could go into the properties, select the audio file. You only will hear the audio while scrubbing through the audio when it's set to stream over here. So if you set your audio file to stream and not an event, then you will hear your audio. Thank you, Derek, for letting me know. I will make sure that will be sorted out in the next live stream. Sorry about that, but at least we can see the audio, and I can hear it. Thank you for letting me know. I want to make sure that over here, 1 coffee, that's the starting point of my animation with the coffee mug. So let's select it. In order to create an animation, we will need to have a symbol. A coffee mug like this needs to be converted into a symbol in order to let it move. So this is probably the starting point of my coffee mug. So let's select the first keyframe of that one, and I said let's select it, there we go, and let's move it in the correct layer to the starting point of that sentence, and then let's convert it into a symbol with a right click. I'm always used to right click convert to symbol, but there is a recently new added button over here, convert to symbol, and that will do the same thing. Coffee, there we go. And in this case there is no animation in here at all, so it can be a movie clip or a graphic. I'm gonna stick with a graphic, and let's move it off stage. So everything outside of the stage will be clipped, won't be in the final export. And now it's ready to enter the stage again, but with a motion tween. So let's do a right click and then create a motion tween. I hope you are having fun. Please let me know if you're enjoying it in the chat. Let's select it and drag it over. And now while doing that, you've got 2 keyframes and the motion in between. There we go. So the coffee comes in. Of course, we can alter the speed of the animation, but roughly this is what I want. 1 coffee. And then we're going to add the 2 sugars, and we're going to do that in the same way actually. But they're going to drop from above. So let's select the sugar cubes. Let's put them over here, but then with shift over there. And maybe something like this. So again, these need to be converted into symbols. So let's create a symbol for this one as well. Convert to symbol. There we go again. It's an old habit. I need to use this button more often because it's very easy, especially on while working on a tablet, like a Cintiq or something. Cube. There we go. And this needs to fall down somewhat from here. And of course I will need to add the motion tween in here as well. So right click and motion tween. And let it drop. And probably it will be best to shift the layers around a bit, because the coffee needs to be in front of the sugar cubes, but I think this will work for now. Probably it would be best to only use one of these layers. So I'm gonna delete one, because the cubes are actually exactly the same. So let's duplicate the layers. Now I've got 2 sugar cubes based on the same symbol. Let's shift it aside, a bit lower, and then at the end it needs to be there. See if that works as well. Perfect. Of course, like in any other tool like Photoshop or Illustrator, you can reorder the layers with ease. So if I'm gonna select the coffee mug and drag it above the other 2 layers, the sugar cubes will be hidden. Okay, and like I said, we can play around with the speed and animation, speed in the animation. But this is exactly what I want for now in a rough animation. Okay, if there are any questions about this, please let me know, and or let me know if you like to use Adobe Animate, because I really do. As a teacher, I'm using it in my curriculum in the animation class as well, on the Grafisch Lyceum Rotterdam. Okay, there we go. So we've got our audio in here. If you remember correctly, we've created some mouth expressions as well, or some mouths in Illustrator, converted that into a symbol, and I really would like to use those now and use the auto lip sync option in Animate. So I'm gonna create a new layer in front of Matthijs, my own character, and that's gonna be the mouths layer, if you will. So I'm gonna put the mouths in front of the face and then import those, or place those actually, from my library. So if I just drag and drop those over here, I've got my mouse back again. But of course I will need to reorder them a bit and make sure that they are going to be placed correctly over here. I'm having a look at the chat. Ah, thank you, Derek. Well, I'm happy that you like Adobe Animate. Your question is, does Adobe Animate only work with vector objects? Well, it loves vector, because when you're creating animations like banners and stuff for websites, well, vector is the way to go, because it's very small and will save some data on the internet, but it can handle pixel art as well, so you can combine those with Photoshop, and it's wonderful to do to work with those styles as well, because it will obviously give you another feeling, another look and feel of your animation. So yeah, both will work fine, and you can even import video in here as well. You can do a lot with it. Thank you for letting me know. It's making it more interactive, so that's cool. Let's double click on the mouth expressions. Because while double clicking on a symbol, it will enter the symbol. Maybe comparable with Adobe Illustrator. So if you double click on a group, you will enter the group. And in here you will enter the symbol. And it's got its own layers in here. Now what I want to do is make sure that every single mouth is not on a separate layer, but on a separate keyframe. So I'm gonna make a little stop motion animation of a very speedy talking Matthijs, and I'm gonna be aware of the order of the mouse over here. So from natural to woo. I promise I'm not gonna do that a lot. Woo. These are going to be 12 mouths. So what I can do is just select the mouth and It's a neutral mouth. I've placed them the wrong way. This is actually, sorry about this. This is the neutral, and probably the S is just swapping those over. There we go. So I need to make sure that my starting file is altered as well for our next one. But I think all the others are okay. So I'm gonna make sure that neutral is gonna be in the first frame. Or even what I could do is add a new layer with some labels in here. And I could add a layer called neutral. It's a bit of a lot of work, but it will pay off later on. So this is going to be the A. So let's add another keyframe in the labels layer as well. And this is the A. In the meantime, get a cup of coffee or something while I'm doing this. This is the D. Hey Ronaldo, thanks for showing up. Cool. This is the E. Oh, come on. 6 or that. And these labels will pop up in the window that I'm gonna enter later on. This is the F. Talking and doing this is quite complicated. The L. And luckily we don't need the whole alphabet. These are just enough for what you want to do in animation. And this is what we're going for, so changing all the mouths. And then of course we need to reposition them later on. And this is the O. No, you need to, Derek, you are asking if you need to create those mouths on beforehand. Yeah, you do. These are not default, because default mouths probably won't have the same style as your artwork. So you will need to create those. But when you're done with it, it's quite easy to make the animation. But yeah, animation is a lot of work, and if you want to do this all by hand, it's even more work. So I'm happy that Animate is automating stuff. Nearly there. This is the final one. The woo! Can't stop doing that. Woo! There we go. And the legenda, well, actually we are done now with the legenda. We know what we're doing. Everything is labeled correctly. I hope I didn't miss anything. But then again, for this tutorial, I'm pretty happy with it. Now, last task is to make sure that the mouths are over here. So what I could do is add some rulers. Let's go to early. So this is going to be the center of all of the mouths. And when you're more used to working with Animate, it's going to be easier. And this a bit of a workaround, but I hope in this way that you know the workflow, the things that you need to do. The mouse that you need, and let's continue on. Derek, are you more a Photoshop guy or Illustrator guy because of your question? Because all these mouths can, of course, be created inside of Photoshop as well. The layer, the structure of layers in Illustrator and Photoshop, well, they're quite different. But while importing those in Animate, it looks the same. So let's see what the final outcome is. And that's something like this. So while looking at this, you can see that the image on the background, that's a vaguely transparent image right now, because we are inside of the mouth. That's quite awkward. We're inside of the mouth symbol, and when we are going back, cool, and then you will love Animate. Cool. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. So when I double click outside of the image of the mouse, I will be back in the main scene. So double clicking will enter the mouth symbol. Double clicking outside will leave the symbol as it is, and we will see the mouth talking. Now, I'm aware that you can't hear the audio, but I think you will get the idea. But over here, while I'm not talking at all, we can see the mouth talking already, and I don't think that's the idea. So what I want to do is actually use the correct expressions while I'm talking and the neutral position while I'm not talking. And a few releases before, we needed to do that by hand as well. So you needed to create all the mouth expressions and then animate them by hand. But fun end result, but doesn't really do the job. I want to see my family as well. So when things are animated or automated in Animate, it will save a lot of time. So okay, over here I'm gonna select the mouth. And the mouth, while selecting that, so not the layer itself, because that will give you different properties over here. Just selecting the mouth on the main stage will give us the lip syncing feature. On the other hand, let's see what the frame picker does. These two look a bit the same. Within the frame picker, you can select one of the mouths by hand. So if there is a little mistake in the lip syncing feature, you can change those by hand. But that's a lot of work. And while lip syncing, that's easier. So all I need to do now is make sure that every mouth position is correct. So the neutral mouth needs to be connected to the neutral mouth. Ah needs to be connected to ah. And I'm sure you're ready for the final one. Just selecting the correct one. And these names over here, they pop up because of the fact that we added the labels inside of the symbol. So that's making it very easy. So there's not a real need for it, but make sure that you don't make mistakes. And woo! There we go. I don't think that I've got the R correct, but let's see. And of course, it will need the artificial intelligence in Adobe Animate needs to listen to audio. So in order to let this work, you will need to have an audio file on your layer. So not only importing it into your library and that's it, but you will need to import it, place it on your layer, and then it will show your correct audio file. So if you've got more audio files in here, like the audio effects later on, it will pop up and make sure that you got your voice over. And then hit done. And then Adobe Sensei is going to listen to the audio and add all these wonderful keyframes over here. These are fantastic. All not made by hand, but Adobe made sure that it's put in the correct mouth expressions. So here goes. How do you spell necessary? Well, it's easy. 1 coffee, 2 sugars. I hope I audio dubbed it correctly. But yeah, this is fantastic. I hope you agree. Well, Ronaldo, we can always have a little chat about it. Hopefully somewhere in London, when the virus is done. Let's add some audio effects in there as well, and then we're nearly at the end of the tutorial. But if you've got any questions, please leave them in the chat on Behance, like you're already doing. So keep up with that as well. Add a new layer in order to add the audio effects. I've got a whoosh and some plopping for the sugar cubes, which you're not gonna hear. I know. Audio FX. Oh yeah, need to use an underscore. Okay, thank you for reminding me. So in here I will need to hear a whoosh, whoosh. So probably somewhere over here I will need to start that whoosh sound. Let's add a keyframe and go into the library again. Please remember, if I would use the same layer for the audio, it will erase the rest of it. So I need to add it into a new separate layer. Derek, I see now your question popping up. Does the voiceover layer needs to be on top of it? Doesn't really matter actually. I want to keep it in a layer. And only the audio in the layer, but of course you can't see the audio, so it doesn't really matter where it is. I like to think I like to keep the audio files on top, because then I know where it is in my workflow. If it makes more sense for you to keep them below, that's no problem at all. And of course there's always an unwritten rule to when you are creating scripting as well, and probably maybe next week we're going to do some scripting in Animate. Then we've got a separate layer for scripts, and that's always on top as well. Not because you have to, but it's a nice way of working. So long answer for no, it doesn't really matter. So let's select the keyframe over here, which I've made for the audio effect. And then the whoosh comes in first. So let's drag it onto the stage. Onto the layer doesn't work. So you need to drag it on the stage where you won't see it, but you will see it over here. Whoosh. And then the plopping can start over here, because the audio file has ended already. I can easily add a keyframe for the plopping on the stage as well. There we go. I need to have some a little bit more space at the end, so maybe until 8 frames or something. Gonna add some frames. Hit play again. Of course, this is only one plop, so I need to have another one as well. Oh, it's adding them below, which doesn't really matter, but I don't like it. Over here, and I'm adding another layer because of the fact that this audio file didn't end already. So let's add a keyframe and the same plop. There we go. So this is basically what I wanted to show you in Adobe Animate. How do you spell necessary? Well, that's easy. 1 coffee, 2 sugars. Perfect. Now, of course, while having a file in Adobe Animate doesn't really do anything on Adobe or on Instagram. So we'll need to export out the audio. Before I do that, are there any questions left about what I just showed you in Animate? Please let me know. And then I'll make sure to export out the video. And it's going to use the media encoder. So I'm going to a PNG file. Export image, there's also a legacy one, which will probably be discontinued briefly. It's gonna export out a movie, and that will give you a shockwave flash video file. Maybe that's a little bit complicated. A movie is something different than a video. And video media, that will give you an MP4 file, or a QuickTime, or whatever file you would like. And of course there's an export animated GIF as well, GIF. But of course that doesn't include the audio. So in this case I will need to export out the video, and in here we will find the settings. Okay, well, there's gonna be more next few weeks, so subscribe, and then we'll cover those. Same settings as we started with, so 1080 width, 1080 height. That's what we're going for Insta. Ignoring the stage color will give me a white background. So if I disable it, this one, it's gonna export the entire movie, so the complete 8 seconds. And it's going to convert it into one of these presets, the formats. But I'm going to go for the H.264 file because I want to have an MP4 to upload to Insta. Users, it's going to be on the desktop demo, but I've got a different folder for that one. All these demos going on in here. That's going to be the one. And then let's export out the video. A lot of warnings, but that doesn't really matter for the video that we're going to create. And it's going to start the media encoder directly. So hopefully it will load. Or maybe it's already done the trick. Don't see it yet. Export media. Or maybe I don't have the patience. There it is. So now when I'm in the media encoder and hit the start queue, there we go, it will convert the QuickTime that is made into an MP4. Export from Animate into the media encoder. That's what's happening over here. Yeah. That's the only way to create a movie different from a QuickTime movie. In this case, I wanted to have the MP4 file. You don't hear it. There we go. So this is a really nice way to work with Animate. There are some great things that you can do with it in animation. There are lots of things that you can do for interactive and gaming. So I advise you to take a look at Animate. It's a really robust tool for animation. And there are some great new features in here. And there's also a lot done with getting you up to speed with Animate. So in the default new document window, you will find the same character that you've just seen in this animation, which will teach you how to auto lip sync. So start with these sample files, and there's a tutorial on the official Adobe Animate YouTube channel. along with this. And in here you will find a tutorial also from my hand based on the Photoshop way of importing and animating layers. So lots of things to see and do. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you today in my very first really open Behance live session. I'm still here around for some questions if you got some. And please let me know if you liked what you've seen. And if you want to follow me on the socials, I'm going to pop this screen again. Twitter is Matt_Klaasner, or Facebook Behance, Instagram with /Klaasner. Please connect, and I'm always open for questions because I think questions are very interesting to answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'm always eager to find the answer. So if there are no questions left, before you go, let me know what you think. If you liked it. To be here live once a week, probably on Thursdays, with other cool stuff. Video with a transparent background. Yes, that's. I can enable the ignore stage color, and be the way to go. If your question is has something to do with importing your file in Adobe Premiere Pro or After Effects, if that makes sense. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And then, without further ado, I hope to see you again. We'll figure it out. Bye bye for now. See you later.